Um, this is take two. We're going to give it a few minutes. If you are watching this on the replay or listening to this on the podcast or anywhere else, hi guys. I'm so excited to be here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am going to be talking to Lauren and Frank. They have a podcast called Clairvoyaging, which is how I met them. I didn't know that they had, I don't know how to say this. I didn't know that you had a purpose behind your podcast aside from you just thought stuff was interesting. Yeah. So it was so great for you to say, oh my gosh, this podcast is part of this, right? So I'm really, really excited to talk to you guys. So welcome.
Thank you.
We want to give it a few minutes to let some people come into the space. You know, it takes time. Yeah. So how are you guys doing?
Doing okay. You know, good. I think summer officially started last week, and you know we're
Friday. So
it was school as of the school year, I should say.
Oh,
but the weather decided that it was going to follow suit, so we have our first kind of spicier day today.
A little warmer.
And in San Diego, you're just not supposed to need AC, but oh boy, I wish we had it.
Yeah,
so it's getting a little warm.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So I just moved to Florida, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's a whole new world in Florida, friends. I don't know if you remember this. There's a movie called A Time to Kill a long time ago with Ashley Judd and Matthew McConaughey, right?
Yes.
So there's this scene in the movie where she's leaning on the door and she's like covered in sweat. And I remember thinking, that is not real. That doesn't happen. They just did that because it makes her look hot. And it's real. It is so real.
I feel like I was reenacting that this morning.
I have family in Miami. I've been there quite a few times, and same thing. Every time I get there, I'm like, oh yeah. What am I leaving?
That's true.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, Renee. Welcome in. Good to see you. Welcome, everybody. I see some people starting to join us. I'm so excited that you guys are here. We're going to go ahead and start diving into things. We're starting to add some people to the space. The chat is open, you guys. Don't feel afraid to drop your comments, even if we don't address them immediately. We're going to do our best to answer as many questions as we can about the topic. And the topic is tools to help parents with kiddos that are pretty connected, right? So something I've observed is that the kids being born, I would say over the last maybe 10 to 12 years, right, are coming forward with a whole lot more connection than we used to have, right? It took me 50 years to get this connection. And then my niece is like, bam, connected. I'm like, okay, fine, fine. But as parents, it can be a little, I don't know, it can feel a little weird if you don't know how to support your kid, because we all want to do that. We all want to support our kid. We love our kid. We want to help them be their best version of self. But if you don't have a frame of reference, it's like, what do I do? Right. So sorry. I don't want to talk over it.
That was exhausted by how true that is. Yes.
Yes. Right. So, I met you guys because you invited me to come on to your podcast, and we had a fantastic conversation. And then during that conversation, you told me something that you're like, oh, it's not public. We're not going to talk about it. So I didn't really think about it again until recently. All of a sudden, I see something come across one of my feeds that said something to the effect of, are you a parent of a connected kiddo? Hey, we have some tools that can help you. And I was like, it was like I heard in my head, and I'm like, thank God there's tools, because I don't know. My kids are big, they're grown, they're not interested in tools from me. So I don't have a frame of reference on which to offer to some of my clients that have been reaching out to me. So what I would love for you to tell us is, how did you, what was it that sparked this whole thing? Right. And then how did you sort of start putting things together for yourself as far as learning how to utilize yourself as, guide, support, whatever for your kiddo?
Yeah.
Yeah. One, thank you for having us here, Erin. It's so fun to chat with you. Do you want me to tell the story?
I do.
Okay. So when you were on our podcast, we gave you a little like side note. This is off the record.
Edited
But
out.
now, yeah. Okay. So 3 years ago, our daughter was 5 years old and she was at school hanging out, playing at recess. And she walked over to a yard duty named Miss D. And she said, "Excuse me, your mom died." And Miss D said, "No, she didn't. And don't tell people that because that's not a nice thing to say." And our daughter said, "Okay, I'm sorry, but she died." And then skedaddled off. And Miss D went home after, her shift at school that day and found out that her mother had passed. So she had been sick in the hospital, and no one knew that though. Like, the
Right.
kids at school didn't know that her.
Certainly not your kid, right? Like it's not like they had lunch together and pulled out the tea and
Exactly.
talked about it, right? Like
Yeah. It'd be one thing if it maybe was like her teacher and there had been some like, I don't know, but like our daughter isn't someone who would just like make something up and like, oh, it just happened to be true. So it was like our logical brains. So I ran into Misty. I didn't know her, but she stopped me a week later and she said, "Let me tell you about your daughter. She has a gift." And I was like, "Tell me." And she just like laid all this out. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. Frank
now, was
and
that
I
the
are,
gift you were expecting when she said gift? Had that
I know,
ever crossed your mind?
Nope.
No.
Our
Till
daughter
then, like-
sings. No, she sings a lot. We're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, she was probably just like belting in the schoolyard. You know what I mean?
I literally was like, "Oh, she's a singer. Like, is that what she's talking about?" And nope. She was like, "Here's what happened." And, we had no idea. So I was like, first of all, I'm sorry for your loss. And second, I'm sorry that you found out that way. And she's like, no, she was so sweet about it and thought it was like really, she's like, at first I was hurt, but she was so sweet about it. And we were like, so I went home to Frank and I said, "I got to tell you something. We got a situation." And it was like the thing that changed our lives. Like we knew it was going to be, because it was like, we're just these, normies.
Yeah, for context, like we both just had, average jobs. Like the most we engaged in anything that was paranormal or psychic in nature was just watching, funny television shows where people were yelling at ghosts and trying to get them to do stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was just like, oh, what do you mean that happened at school today with our daughter?
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, that's really cool and interesting, and I can't wait to learn more about it. And then I was like, oh no, I have heard that if these types of kids who like are very just plugged in, don't get the support that they need, then that can kind of snowball into issues down the road. If for parents that don't have access to the things that they're seeing, it can create a lot of like, you feel that the need to like reground them, like, oh, that's not true, that's like in your imagination, all
Right.
that stuff. And what we're doing by doing
Yeah.
that is we're taking away our kids' autonomy to like feel what they feel and experience what they experience. And we're telling them to second guess themselves.
Right.
When they're, that's when it's 5, that looks like one way, but when they're 16, that's a whole slew of problems that they're running into,
Yeah.
outsourcing that type of autonomy, right? And their own sovereignty. So that we started from that point looking for resources. And I read a couple books here and there, but they're all written kind of from the standpoint of like psychics telling you what it was like when they were kids, or like giving you some warnings.
Let me
But-
interrupt you for 1 second. I
Okay.
have a question. So
Yeah.
after you had this conversation with the woman who told you about your daughter, did you then have a conversation with your daughter about this and ask
Yeah.
her, like, does this happen a lot? Like, what?
Yes.
Like, okay. All right. And when you had that conversation with her, how did that go?
So 5-year-olds, especially our daughter, don't give you a lot of information. We said, "Hey, can we talk to you? Did anything," I think we asked her, like, "Did anything weird happen or interesting happen at school lately?" And she's like, "No." We're like, "Okay. Are you sure?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, we got to use the tablets in Learning Center or whatever." No.
Right.
Anything
True.
with Miss D. And she goes, "Oh yeah, I know that her mom died. And we were like, okay, can you tell us about that? And she's like, well, it just went in my brain. And then I said it. And then she was okay. And we were like, okay. It was, and we're like, has this ever happened? She's like, I don't think so. But it was so normal to her. Like,
Right.
it didn't seem like a big deal. She was like, yeah, I'm smart. My brain tells me things.
Right.
And as if she was just, I would say this, like Miss D was, as if she was telling Miss D, like, you have brown hair.
Right.
So and we're like, can you tell us, was it your voice? Was it someone else's voice? We wanted so much information, and she was not wanting to give it. And she's like, can we be done talking about this now?
And that was the other thing too, is the more we'd ask, the details would start to change, because kids are kids.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're going to start writing a story, right? And she's a very creative kid and still is. So,
and she was she started getting uncomfortable with the conversation too. And it was like, she's like, I want to be done talking about this now. Because then it was kind of like, this is making me feel weird or something.
Right.
Like, that was clear. So she was uncomfortable. And then we're like, okay, now we really need to like figure this out, because she's avoiding it. And that's the fear, is like not having your kid ignore what is happening or push it down.
Yeah.
Right. Had either of you had any kind of like personal supernatural experience up to this point? Like, had either of you like tapped into your clairs, or were you just kind of like observing from the sideline? Like, what kind of stuff for you guys was going on?
I'd say we were mostly sidelines. I had a few like dream visitations, like, whoa, my friend visited me and was telling me about his mom. And, but nothing where I would be like, I'm a psychic medium. It was just like, my brother visited me, he passed, and he's visited me several times, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And in like my early 20s, I'm a recovering Catholic, as they say sometimes, and I got into like just the outskirts of Buddhism. So I was learning a lot about meditation and all that. So I had started to get like deep into types of meditation in my early 20s, and to the point where I was starting to experience what I could call a certain amount of like astral projection, or like leaving your body on purpose. But never in a way where I was able to do it like on command or in control, or not being, scaring my socks off while doing it. So,
oh, me either. I always like, can I just because I want to do it? Like, come on. This is very off topic, but I have astrally projected one time, and it was totally by accident. It was after my thyroid cancer surgery, and I was on very heavy medication, right? Yeah. And I have a very distinct memory of laying on the couch, and my teeth were vibrating so hard. And I was like, I had the thought, what's going on? And the next thing I know, I was looking at myself laying on the couch. And it was the strangest feeling I've ever had. And I clearly remember thinking, I must be looking at a picture. I must be looking at my phone. So, like I couldn't compute it. And I don't remember what happened, but something startled me, and I jumped, and I went back to my body. And for like a couple days after that, I was like checking my husband's phone, looking for that picture. I'm like, I must have seen that picture, because it was exactly me, and exactly what I was wearing, and exactly the position. It was me. And I was standing at like my front door observing myself. Scared the bejesus out of me. And since then, I have not been able, even though I try, obviously I always say, you gotta stop trying so hard. Okay, I get it, but I can't seem to do it again. So I wonder, I must have something in there that's like, that's weird, or something like that. So
the fear is such a block with that stuff. I used to like lay down, like, I'm going to go for it. And I'd be able to do it sometimes, like on purpose, but nothing more than like sitting up and looking around and be like, oh, this is happening. But every time I did it, then I would see like, what do you call it? Like shadow people like come, they'd sit around my bed for a second. I don't know. I've heard about terms like guardians of the threshold and stuff like that. Things you need to like kind of overcome your own fear to get through. Never did it, because boy, it's scary if you're not ready for it. I was able to repeat that on purpose multiple times, but like never did it. And then I got a big boy job, and it all went away.
Dang it, big boy job. What's up? Oh, I totally get it. All right. So I didn't mean to derail you, but I really wanted to bring some context, right? Because it's not like you walked into this being a medium who knows everything and is fully connected. And you're like, I know what to tell you. You really walked into this just like everybody else, where you're like, I don't know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So take it away. You're thinking, how do I start putting support together for a kiddo?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like looked for some resources and wasn't coming up with a lot of stuff that felt solid. A lot of, stories, like anecdotal things. And there used to be a TV show on A&E called Psychic Kids.
I
And
remember seeing that.
yeah, and
With Chip Coffee.
yeah,
Yes.
we liked that. And suddenly I started watching it as more of a necessary prerequisite reading. And learned a lot from that, but like also the show was clearly edited for entertainment and for people to actually so but that psychic who was like the lead psychic on that show, Chip Coffee, I read his book, which was helpful again, but like just not the resource I needed, because you want to know day-to-day life stuff, right?
But part of this, like the reason, so we had that one event, and then several months went by before we actually like started our podcast. Several months were going by, and things started feeling a little more intense, where like our daughter was not able to sleep in her room through the night without us. Like she'd come into our room, she'd be like, she was scared every night, just like, and to the point of like, it was like, this seems more like fearful for a 5-year-old than it maybe should be. And then having pretty intense nightmares, talking in her sleep a lot.
Yeah, honestly,
so it's getting really like, oh, she's distraught,
Yeah, sometimes she would come into the room and she didn't even really quite feel or act like herself, and I didn't know what that. Still don't have a great answer for that one either, but it was odd enough for us to like look at each other sideways sometimes and be like, what is this?
Yeah,
is this part of it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so did some research, couldn't find anything, and finally decided, well, I want to be able to. What Chip Coffee's book did show me more than anything is he said that some of the kids that were on that show, Psychic Kids, even though they're on the show and at that point getting some of the support they needed, some of them would go on and have to be like institutionalized and stuff like that, because they didn't get the help that they needed or the support they needed. So that was like considering like our daughter and thinking about her being in that situation was quite scary. So it was like, I need to get on some calls and talk to some people who know better and really get the information that I need. How do we navigate this? Not having like the access to any kind of psychism like she does. Like, we got to meet her halfway somehow. How do we do this?
Yeah.
And that's how the podcast started. We decided, let's be the resource that other people need, supposedly, if they're in our situation.
And also figure out if there's a way for us to develop our own intuition to sort of get closer to where she might be, which we're still not, but neither of us have taken like.
I do think there's a reason for that though, but continue.
Yeah, we haven't. I mean, I learned Reiki, and that's been incredibly helpful just as a tool for regulation and healing and all the things. But neither of us have taken like a mediumship class, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
But so much of what we learned, and we spent 3 years almost with our podcast so far, talking to psychics and mediums and hearing everyone's childhoods and hearing like, this is, this is what it looks like when you're unsupported. And here's what happens when, your family is like, yeah.
Right. We just had Rachel say just this, right, as you were bringing that up, speaking of synchronicities, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, that happens. If a parent, I'm reluctant to ever say that a parent is bad. Obviously, there are parents that don't do a good job, right? I get it. But parents are also human. And I think that if you don't have a frame of reference that allows you to believe that this isn't demonic, right? Like it's difficult because you want the best for your child typically. So, I think a lot of parents who are, I hate the word unawakened, but you know what I mean? They're not necessarily aware of what's going on, are misguided in their attempt to try to help their kid by squashing a big part of them,
That's the like wanting to, for their own safety, you feel the desire to bring them back to a grounded place based on the reality that you understand, not
Right.
assuming that maybe they have access to something you don't.
Right.
And to do that, you know, it sometimes requires us as parents to reevaluate our understanding of the model of the universe and how everything works. Because you get older, you assume like, I've got it figured out now. I can raise a kid into the world that I understand. And it's like, oh no, I have to learn a bunch of stuff that they're teaching me now.
Right.
And it's not, it brings people out of their like safety zone to have to like reevaluate that their own foundation.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, and I'll never blame a parent for doing that. But if you really do want to like encourage your kids to be the best version of themselves, you have to adapt based on their needs, and that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started to say, Frank, that you think that there's a purpose or a reason that you guys are not as tapped in as your daughter. I'm curious what that is, because I also have a theory on that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So since like when we first started the podcast, right, we did it for 3 years so far. We're on a slight hiatus right now just to get this up and running. But the entire time it was a secret that it was our daughter, right? We just said it was a niece, one of our family members. No one knows about it. You'll never get a name. We were kind of upfront about that for a while. But at some point, like along the way, like our daughter got more comfortable, and now she's more comfortable talking about it. She's very nonchalant about it. And it's funny, the more nonchalant she is about it, especially with her friends, the more nonchalant about it they are too.
Yeah.
So, which is great. We talk about like the need for this to be a little bit more of a mundane conversation. But during those 3 years, we were kind of like, keeping her identity a secret and learning ourselves. At some point, we were like, oh, I think we are kind of a bridge for your very average, not plugged in person to like start exploring this in a safe way and without feeling pressured and without being too steeped in woo-woo culture, which can sometimes be very overwhelming.
Right.
And so my theory is that I think that like to a certain extent, like this is exactly where we're supposed to be in this period of our lives. So to fulfill this purpose of like, not to get too philosophical, but to like deliver on this, us being a bridge for people to like navigate this territory in a way that they might have not felt safe or had access to in otherwise.
Like, yeah.
Makes you relatable because
Not-
you're on the same level type feeling, right?
Yeah.
Keeping it lighthearted with like, and not in, because the woo-woo language can be really
gatekeepy.
It can be overwhelming, and like you said, and like can feel like, oh God, I can't even touch that.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start,
And we try to incorporate at least one fart joke into every podcast episode. So
keeping it light.
Oh
right?
yeah, there's a lot of we're laughing at ourselves constantly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that helps.
So that's my theory. What was yours?
So I would say I agree with that, but I have an and to put onto that is frequency based. Okay. So we as human beings have a range of frequency that we can physically hold in our body, right? And let's say it's like a light spectrum, just picture a rainbow, right? And it's this big. And all of us that are here on the planet up till now are all the same cut, right? The kiddos coming in are shifted. And so they have more range on the upper end of the spectrum than we do. And so for us, what's top of the spectrum is more mid-spectrum for them. So it's less work for them to tap into that, right? And then they're also able to access frequencies, I think, that are a bit like out of range for me, so to speak, right? And I think it's a mechanism of evolution. I think this is humanity evolving into a physical being that's able to hold a greater frequency, to be able to have a broader perspective, right? Because the faster your frequency is moving, the broader your perspective becomes. And if we're to evolve as a species, which we all feel is happening, friends, like Rome is burning. I don't know if you've noticed. Like, I feel like I'm the only one that's noticed. But Rome's on fire. Something's changing. And there has to be something different to lead the way. We can't repeat the same thing over and over and over again. There has to be a change. That's why I think a lot of our kiddos that are being diagnosed with ADHD and autism. Now, I understand fully there is a huge spectrum, and I'm not trying to generalize. Don't do that to me. But I believe that ADHD and autism are two sides of an evolutionary coin because the universe is built on duality. ADHD is outward focus, being able to focus on multiple things at a time, multitask. They're very smart about stuff like that. Autism is very inward focused. They see the detail. They're very refined in their frequency reception, right? It's two sides of the same coin, helping us to evolve our senses to a place that is fit for this upper level of frequency. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
just to add on to what you guys are saying, I don't think it's because you're like, I think we physically can't necessarily connect in the way that they do.
Yeah. Not without a certain amount of training and effort.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, effort. Yeah. But I
Or
think
lack of
even
effort.
that, I think their frequency, it's like my radio dial only goes up to 105.
Yeah.
But their radio dial goes up to 109. So they're
Yeah.
going to be able to pick up on some things that are out of range for me. And I
Yeah.
think these kids are also so freaking smart. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So smart. Why is my 7-year-old niece teaching me like algebra? I'm like, okay, like she's so brilliant. And it's because they're evolving. It's to keep up with what's changing in humanity. At least that's my own personal view based on what I receive and what I know about frequency and my observations, right?
Which is everything.
I
Right.
love that.
I used to
theory.
wake up every morning and be like, oh, I got to see what Aaron has to say about the Schumann today.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, still hanging on to it,
I love it.
So I love this from Rachel. She says that her nonverbal 6-year-old writes both her name and a second name on her homework. And then she said, I had to Google the second name and it's a male name from a different country. Right.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's pretty incredible. So,
Wow.
Rachel, I don't know if you have listened to the telepathy tapes at all, but if you haven't, highly recommend listening. I mean, talk about a brain tickle. I am just thrilled with this series because the way they conducted things were so scientifically sound. There is airtight stuff there. Like, I mean, they covered all the bases. And even for someone who is reluctant to entertain the idea of some sort of greater consciousness, you can't listen to some of this stuff and be like, no, that ain't real. Because what? No,
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah.
I mean, the idea of the hill, not to ruin it for anybody, but the idea of the hill. And I mean, this is mind blowing. And most of these kiddos are nonverbal or, sort of more needs oriented. So definitely, if you haven't watched that, I encourage you to look that up.
Yes.
We interviewed Jeff Tarrant, the guy, the doctor who studies the brain, and he's in a bunch of the episodes before telepathy tapes came out. He was on our podcast, and he was like, "Oh, I just did this documentary," and blah, blah, blah. And he is so brilliant, and just I feel like he's kind of he's in science and also a little bit. He has to be delicate with like how he talks to people, just because he's in science, but also has this like meditation and the
negative
psychism.
connotation, not wanting to lose licenses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he has
Right.
to split his practice
Right.
down the middle. He
Yeah.
does this here and this here.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a very cool guy. Like he's all over the telepathy tapes. Go look him up too if you get a chance.
Yeah.
Jeff Tarrant, super nice guy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fantastic.
Cool dude.
That's awesome.
Oh my God.
So I want to ask you guys, what was, I don't know if there's going to be an easy answer to this, because I feel like you're going to say, well, everything, right? What was the most surprising thing that you've learned through conversations with people on your podcast, as far as spirituality, connection, that sort of thing? Is there anything that really sticks out to you as, wow, that was like a puzzle piece I really needed, that put a lot of things together? Was there anything that sort of stands out, or is it just that it's all of it together?
I'm going to give you a shot because I talk too much.
well, maybe this will trigger an answer for you, but I don't know if it was more specifically like, I think as we were learning more, like the people that we spoke to have such interesting stories. One of them that it's still this shocking, incredible, like, how is she not in a bunch of documentaries? It was Michelle Hollingbrooks.
Oh yeah.
She's a 2-part episode because we were talking to her and her story was like 40 minutes long. Before we even got to any questions or anything, we were like, oh, we have to, you have to come back. But so just the really short version of her story is that when she was 13, she had a horrible accident. She got like an infection, like a mosquito bite caused an encephalitis or something like that.
Meningitis. Huh?
I forget what it was.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway,
Either one is bad. Like it doesn't matter.
It was really bad.
Like,
she was paralyzed, blinded, and deaf.
Yeah.
And she's like, I just became an object. Like I was just part of the hospital. Like I didn't know the difference between myself and the lamp next to me or the table or whatever. And she just became like aware of present, people in the room or whatever. She developed like a connection with, they eventually got her rehabilitated. She developed a deep connection with like through horses and equine therapy, and discovered that she is like deeply psychic, like so deeply connected to the energy of everything that it like scared her and everyone around her. But her story is just so incredible. And I don't know, her story, I had to like lay down after talking to her for like 2 hours because I'm like, why did this affect me so much? Just I had never heard of a story like that. And
when she came back in her story, when she came back online, when she was like 15 or something, how old was she?
It was like 6 months later.
She had a memory wipe, didn't know who her family was or anything like that. So she like restarted every single one of her relationships, even with her own like parents. And did not know. She didn't know the former Michelle, still like doesn't. And the way she describes it is that she like was just living as an energetic being for a while before she like decided to like try and get things like her body physically working again.
So that was like a choice that she made?
I believe so. Something that she worked towards, and how her she connected with a one horse in particular, and the horse kind of guided her back to her using her body functionally. And she's a completely normal. If you talk to her now, you'd never know it.
Regained sight, hearing, being, like everything except for her memory of who she was before the accident.
She has theories on, is she even the same person that came back? Like it's a wild story.
The most incredible thing. And it was like, how are you? And you're just a real human. Like she's the kindest, most genuine person. You're just like, there are people with stories out there that what's so interesting is that I think what has struck me is that there are so many people with real stories like that. And then there's the other side of, there's people who just are like, oh, you're a liar,
Right. Like, there's a comment here that sort of speaks to that. This comment says, I had great parents, but believing in what my clairs were showing me by age 9, I was shushed and told it was just dreams. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's a classic. Just a dream.
Yeah.
It's tough. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a shame too, because we've like, not to change the subject.
No. I mean, yeah, it's fine.
But
that was the biggest thing.
Yeah. As we've spoken to people, we've spoken to a lot of adults now, like, because we're a little more open just talking about it. We were very reserved when we first started the podcast and talking about the stuff, because we didn't want to make our daughter feel weird or like, out her, be like exploitative in any kind of way. But now that it's kind of like a part of like what we're doing here in our mission, it's hard to hide it. So the more people that we talk to more openly now about it, we're catching a lot of people that have that story of like, oh, I used to see ghosts and it scared me, or I was told that it was a demon or something, which is such a bummer, man. Especially if you go on, I don't know, Reddit or whatever. Anytime you share a story, there's going to be people that tell you they don't believe you, and the other ones that are going to say that like you need to be saved, and
Yeah.
and that it's a demon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just there's for sure like weird energetic stuff out there, like some darker stuff, but I'd say for your average person, 99% of your experiences are not that. They're just kind of normal, like spiritual things. And entertainment wise, it just feels like we're so movies have scared the crap out of us unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Our pop culture has really done us quite a disservice, right? From Dracula to, The Craft. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Ghost is a great movie, but it builds an expectation around what mediumship is when it is not that, like
Yeah.
I always try to encourage people to remember you are a unique receiver, right? You're an individual here. So the way you receive and perceive the energy that's being offered to you is completely reliant on who you are, the lens you're looking through, and the environment that you find yourself in, because it's meant to be a local broadcast. It's not meant to be projected. There are so many channels out there, and most of us, if you pay attention, most of us are getting basically the same information, just slightly different. That's purposeful. So that you filter through your worldview. So your local broadcast is that information, right? And I think
Yes.
what happens is people look at someone who's very successful, like Chip Coffey or whomever, and not because that's bad, but then they get in comparison, right? They say, well, it doesn't look like this, so it must not be that, or whatever. And then we start doing that human thing we do, and we say, well, I must need to work harder because that's what we've been taught, right? Like if you work hard, then you're gonna do great, whatever. But we have to remember the universe is built on duality, and that means everything, right? So if your physical environment tells you work harder to achieve more, your metaphysical environment is going to be 180 degrees different from that in order to offer balance to your experience. So it's not about work harder, it's about allow. It's not chase, it's allow. It's stop doing what you're doing, right? Like stop overthinking.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard. It's so hard. And I'm kind of really hopeful because the kids that are being born as parents, if we can sort of foster that sense of, oh no, you don't have to, earn it, you don't have to whatever, then it takes away that layer of hard work that so many of us are still dealing with, which really brings me to what you guys have created. So this is what I'm most excited about. So tell us about your school community. Tell us about the types of things you've discovered and lay it on us.
I'm going to give you that one.
Okay. So I think when did our daughter, we still don't use her name that much, but that's fine. It's not a podcast. Her name's Jean. When did we have Jean on the show the last time?
For episode 99.
Was it 99?
Yeah. That was like February.
We had our daughter on like early on the actual show. She was like off screen. We don't put her face out there still, but we had her on the show early on just to talk through some things, hoping she can bring some light to it and help other people. And I think that was like episode.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah. And then for one of our most recent episodes, episode 99, we had her back like a little older, a little more understanding of what.
And we gave the big reveal of it because we've been talking about on our podcast Gwen. And so our listeners know who Gwen is as our niece. And then we said, sorry, we've been lying, but to protect our daughter. And and so we had her, we interviewed her as Jean.
So and that kind of was the initiation of our journey into trying to teach other people now exactly what we've collected. Because through the podcast, the entire time, I've been, and it sounds like you've been doing something similar, Aaron, kind of creating a Venn diagram of what is everyone's experience seem to overlap somewhere here in the middle. And there's a ton of overlap, which is crazy.
Oh yeah.
For people that are in the world of intuition and stuff, the amount of overlap is absolutely bananas. The thing that seems to change a lot is their entry point into this world, and that kind of colors their experiences. But so having Jean on for episode 99 was kind of all right, now we're out in the open here. Now we're going to talk about it more openly. Here's our experience that we've been how to raise a 8-year-old and younger kid to this point, what our experience has been, and what we have done that has worked on a day-to-day basis of balancing ordinary life, keeping her grounded while having some like very extraordinary experiences, and maintaining a normal household while giving space for those experiences at the same time, because we want our kids to also be open to having those experiences moving forward, because it's clearly a part of what they're here to do, but also be able to go on play dates, do their homework, all the normal stuff.
Right.
So we sat down and created an outline of like what exactly we've done and how you can go through navigating these experiences together, even if you don't have access to what they're experiencing, which, like I was saying, like we don't, not on that level. If I have anything that resembles a Claire, it's in the department of like feeling. And Lauren, what is yours?
It's a little bit of knowing.
A little bit of knowing.
Yeah.
And and our daughter and now our son are they have very different things going on. Our son is literally reading our minds, whether I want him to or not. and our daughter like will see spirits from time to time, and like and the unfortunate thing, or fortunate, I don't know, TBD, is that she does see them as deceased. So they're kind of scary looking. She always says they have no pupils, they look blue, they're floating, all this stuff. Some people will see spirits and be like, oh, I didn't know that person was actually dead. They look like a normal person. And Jean's like, oh yeah, that freaked me out for a second.
Yeah.
So the entire, like, if I can like really cook down here and distill exactly what our strategy is and what we teach through the course, is that our job as guardians, first and foremost, is to stabilize them emotionally, which is a very normal parent thing to do, right? Like your kid has a big emotional storm or whatever it might be that's dysregulating. We help regulate them. We co-regulate and get them to a place where they can be calm about it and communicate clearly. And then past that, it's about like validating their experience, even if you can't provide validation in your own way. For example, if Jean's seeing something that scares the crap out of her, I can't see that, but I can say, hey, listen, I believe you. I don't think that you're a liar, and just making sure that she feels validated in her experience, and then moving forward from there, we do what we can to spiritually protect ourselves and make sure that there's nothing nefarious going on, and then move forward from there in any type of communication if we feel safe to do that. And that's where we start practicing things like, the stuff that you would learn in a mediumship school, of staying calm, turning off that brain, trying not to use your imagination too much to write a story, just be available. And we have, on multiple occasions, I've been able to have our daughter give us legit evidential experience in this. So as where she's seen like people that I know who have passed that she has no idea who they are, and she's giving me like names and how they died and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. This is, if there was any doubt left, and there wasn't, that just like blows it away. So, and that's just like during an actual, what we call like a psychic event, is that whole like process of being dysregulated to regulated to calming down, and then maybe performing some mediumship if she feels safe and secure in doing that, and like feels like entertaining it. And if she doesn't, you can't make her. It's not about being performative or exploitative. And then throughout the course too, like we go on to explain, like, that's just at home. What happens when you go outside of the house and they run into a skeptic? What happens when, I don't know, your uncle, who's a jerk, wants to say, yeah, you're full of it, and I don't believe a single word you're saying, to an 8-year-old? Is that like, how do you manage that? How do you tell your friends at school? Do you tell your friends at school? Does your kid need extra support at school? Like that stuff that's just like, how do you create this bubble where not a bubble where you're overprotective, but a bubble of safety and security where they can feel free to be themselves and have their own experiences and handle any kind of confrontation, which in this world is going to happen. So,
right. So we took all of that.
Sorry. I remember I have a podcast, so
we took all of that and created a community on school SKOOL. So that we have like a group of people who are, going through similar situations, so that you can have a community and chat through something or provide support to someone in the community. And in that community, it's a free community to sign up for. We just started it like in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And it's going to have meditations for grounding for, stressed parents, and some handouts. And also there's the course that Frank was talking about. So that's kind of the big thing is a course for raising psychic children. And it's like 90 minutes or so.
I think so. Yeah.
And at some point soon, as it grows, we want to have, like a live chat or conversation once a month, things like that. We want to have meditations, even, quick meditations for kids to kind of help regulate, maybe before bed or before school, before going out into a public setting. And
getting out there in the world, kids get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Man, I always think about like Oktoberfests and stuff when we're still trying to navigate what our daughter was going through.
Oh yeah.
Watching her shut down in public, even though she's a very like extroverted person.
Yeah.
Like what's going on? What are you doing? Are you okay? What's like learning what to do in those environments? That's a whole section.
Yeah.
The school community really is. We're calling it a community because it's not just a course. We're trying to build a community of parents.
It's like a support group.
Like a support group, yeah.
Yeah.
And as soon as we like get past a certain threshold, we want to have like, every other week a meeting where we can like get in there and chat with each other.
Yeah.
We're still growing because we just launched, like Lauren said, a couple weeks ago. But we're hoping to get in there and be in there all the time with you guys.
We also just created a free quiz.
I saw that. I didn't take it, but I saw it. I was like, oh, that's so smart. I was immediately transported back to like Cosmo. Is this my soulmate?
Right? Yeah.
Like
what are you? What Harry Potter house are you in?
Yeah. I like
exactly.
Yeah. It's is my kid psychic.com, and it's just a free like intuitive assessment to kind of give you like a your kid is most likely, from the sounds of it, like most likely claircognizant or clairvoyant.
We built it so you kind of like, you just answer a series of questions based on, your kid's experiences, and it'll give you a score on what your kid's likely highest clair is, but it'll give you your score for all of them. All the clairs, all the classic clairs, I should say, because some people say there's way more than the classics.
Right.
And then it'll also give a what I call an emotional impact score, which is, how distressed is your kid on a scale of 1 to 10? How distressed is these experiences make your child? And kind of as an indicator of like, all right, now that I see it in writing, like I know if we're okay or if we maybe need a little help, because the last thing we want, again, the whole game is regulation. The last thing we want is our kids out there feeling unregulated and unable to be their most authentic selves out there.
Right. The whole point of just want to say the point of the the school community is like, we're still learning alongside everybody in this community. So we don't hold ourselves as like experts. It's we can help be guides, and here's what we've learned. Here's what we've put into a course. Come learn alongside us, join us as we chat about our really cool, sensitive little weirdos. We call our kids weirdos, but your kids aren't weirdos. Maybe they are.
My kids are definitely weirdos.
I've always been a weirdo. But yeah, just to like, it's to learn alongside and be in this together. Something that is so challenging is that there's not a space for parents to talk to a lot of people and go like, you can't necessarily ask your best friend, what would you do, if your kid's saying that there's a little boy in their closet or something, or like, grandpa won't stop sitting at the end of my bed and talking to me in the middle of the night. Like it feels uncomfortable if you're like, oh, I have a deeply religious family and no one's going to believe me, or
Right.
all the things. And so for parents, it's like, it's I don't know. We were like, we wish we had this. So let's create it.
Yeah. If we had this, we wouldn't have made the podcast, put it that way.
Right. Well, then I'm glad you didn't have it because I love the podcast.
Right.
All right. So we have a great question. It says, I like the idea of a quick test. Do you include thoughts and space for consciousness? You should if you don't. So what do you mean? Do you include thoughts and space for consciousness? So I want you to like expand on that a little bit, because for me, everything you're talking about is like, first of all, I want to point out how this is a clear demonstration of manifestation and action, right? Because it's small inspired steps that gather strength and momentum that amplifies the frequency. So you didn't start with the goal of, I mean, maybe your podcast, but you didn't start out with the goal of, I'm going to create this community for parents of awakened kids, right? You started out with, how can I help my kid? So that intrinsic, I want to feel good about my interaction with my kid, which naturally led you through your own curiosity to create something that has turned into a great tool. And this is literally manifestation in action. This is what all of us teachers are talking about, right? You got to remember that your physical life experience is goal oriented. So your metaphysical life experience is never going to be goal oriented. It's passion based. It's curiosity fed. And the more you start there, the wider it can open and spread into something that just starts to spread frequency out, right? So that's the first thing I wanted to point out. The second thing I want to say is giving somebody the space to be like, dude, it's okay. Like, my kid told me blah, 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 blah today, and I nearly peed my pants. Like, we're good. Like it takes the pressure off of feeling judged, right? It takes the pressure off of feeling like I have to have all of the answers all at once. And you never know where this could lead. Like, it could end up that you end up with a kid group too, where these kids all help talk to each other about, well, this is what I do when I get scared, or this is what works for me, or whatever. Like, there's so many possibilities that you can do with this to amplify this. And the more people who have awakened kids or connected kids, however you want to say it, that contribute to this, the more amplified that signal becomes. And then again, we watch the manifestation start to spread, right? But it's such a great thing that you've created because you've given the opportunity for something to blossom out of a need that needed to be filled, like filling a gap, right? And I'm super excited about it.
Oh man, I really appreciate that.
You.
I feel like Professor gave us a good score just now.
A plus.
I love the idea of like kids supporting each other. Like, I've seen like the smallest hint of that with our daughter, because we talk about Reiki a lot. We talk about regulating ourselves by putting a hand on our heart and our bellies, and doing little mantras to go like, I'm safe, I'm loved, and all that. And I remember last year, our daughter was at school and a friend was going through a thing. She was having a hard time at lunch or something. And our daughter, she told us at bedtime, she goes, I helped my friend. She was having a hard time. And I told her, put your hand on your heart, put your hand on your belly, and say, I am safe, I am loved, I am protected. And I was like,
See?
They were doing like healing work at school. Are you kidding me? Like,
listen,
that's
what we need. Like, our middle school particularly is a freaking nightmare. So kids, they're so afraid to be different because that difference is immediately targeted, right?
Oh, yeah.
But if it's something that's such a big part of you, I imagine that it must feel terrible that you have to squash that, right? So just giving them an outlet, even if it was like once a month where they could get on a Zoom and just talk to each other about what they're experiencing. I mean, that by itself could help them develop, I mean, your daughter can communicate on the level that her peer understands, right?
Right.
And I think us as parents, we think we're doing that, but we're still doing this, right? Because
sure.
we can't help it. We're old and we know, like, like it's just, I don't know what to say. It's just
Yeah.
how it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that. So the second half to that comment was, did you leave room for the concept of consciousness is a frequency, right? And I think that this is a very simple quiz just to kind of lay things out. I don't know that it gets super complicated, but I like this here
It's very
where
simple.
she says, yeah, consciousness needs to start with the perceiver. So adding thoughts back to the person going through the test, meaning the parent, about themselves will also bring forth ideas on how to deeply see their kids. So each parent that takes the test, it gives them the opportunity to kind of reflect a little bit, right?
That's a
Which is really
really
helpful.
cool idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the big things in the course, and thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah.
One of the big things that we built this course was, and we're trying to dispel any kind of negative connotation, right? And that some of those negative connotations aren't just with the world of skeptics, but also with the world of like the Tuwu. And not that there's anything wrong with Tuwu. I spend 90% of my scrolling time on Tuwu, but it's not a good access.
That's the other side of TikTok, right? That's the Tuwu instead of TikTok.
Tuwu. Listen, Witch Talk is my jam, but like, for the purpose of this course in particular, we wanted to make sure that we weren't being too pushy and that people are yes-anding their existing beliefs.
Mhm.
So like,
Right.
and that's a very difficult thing to do considering what we're talking about, because there are some more dogmatic religious beliefs that have a big problem with the concept of reincarnation, but that could be a big part of some kids' experiences. So this is more built along, and there is a section on this in the course of that we're not rewriting your belief system,
Yeah.
but here's a really easy way to build it into your existing system. So I think the majority of the major religions are okay with how we presented it if you're open-minded enough for that. Maybe like sorry, dog's walking around here. Very psychic dog, by the way. But yeah, we've built kind of a more of a basic entry point that you're supposed to build into your existing belief systems, not to rewrite it for you as a parent.
Right.
But what you're saying here, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like we have like a method that's like you can use even if you're like, I go to church. I don't believe in this stuff, but like, even if it, the method is called the VSP protocol, and it's just validate. This is what Frank was talking about earlier too. Validate, stabilize, protect. And you can do those things regardless of your beliefs, your fears, your anything, and
Right.
just follow that protocol. And that can still help you protect your space, help your kid feel heard and validated, and regulate their nervous system.
Our protect portion of that protocol really revolves around what you want to bring to the table as a parent. So if you're into like the protection that you get from angels or Archangel Michael or whatever it might be, or Jesus, or maybe your grandma if you're into like ancestral practices or whatever it could be, like that, this will work into your system. So that's what we were shooting for.
Yeah.
Well, I think you've at least gotten a good head start to it. I think you're doing great. I'm just going to tell you guys, I mean, you know that this is just the very beginning of this, right? Like, that, right? Like, I know that. I just want to make sure that you acknowledge that because I need you guys to understand that. Like,
Okay.
I can clearly see stuff. So I'm telling you, you're just at the beginning of this. And I think that this offers something that's so desperately needed that if enough word can get out about it, that the type of information that you can gather and foster through all of these different lenses is invaluable, because it gives 100 lenses for people to look like, because it's about remembering each individual is unique, right? So if one kid has this experience, but your kid had a way different experience, that doesn't mean that your kid's experience wasn't valid or something but it also doesn't mean they're the only one that had one that was similar to that. There's others, and commonality. And I know we're not supposed to like validation, but God, I mean, come on, it helps,
we
right?
like our evidence. We like our evidence. It's so
Right.
cool.
So that feels to me like as it starts to gain, there's so much information that you're going to gather from this. I also feel like I need to ask you guys, and I'm sure you have, but you guys have looked into UVA's program, right? Where they interview kids on past life experiences and
Oh, I have heard of it.
Oh yeah.
I know I haven't looked into it. No, but it's you know what
okay.
that
So
that
you
came
got to
across my
dive
desk.
into that. There's
Yeah.
some very, very good research going on there. There's some kids that they've interviewed that have taken them places, introduced them to people and said, this was so-and-so and this was so-and-so. I mean, and this is UVA. This is a major school that's doing this research. And I went to the Sci Games last fall, I think.
Oh my gosh.
And they had representatives there presenting a paper. And I'm such a nerd. I stayed after and I'm like, can I talk to you? And I started talking to them. And my question was, do you think that what you're perceiving, are you seeing more of it now than you used to? And if you are you contributing that to the idea that kids are evolving or parents are more open?
Ooh.
And they were like, yes, we are definitely seeing an uptick in the number of things being reported and the different variety of things that people are willing to share. And it's kind of hard to tell if it's because we have more willing to open up parents, because the generation of parents has kind of moved into our generation, right? Like Generation X. And so we're having kids, and or that the kids are more receptive. And they're like, some of the stories have been getting as of the last year or so, maybe a little longer, have been coming in with more and more detail, right?
Mm.
So it's also
good.
interesting. Well, did the parent wait? Because that's another factor, right? Did the parent wait to reach out to report this until they finally go, okay, I'm going to do it. And then by then the details have slipped away from the kid, right? Like
Yeah.
it's 100 different things, but they have so much fantastic research that you should dive into. I'm sure you can find videos that they've made on YouTube. Like, it's a great place for you guys. I really think Frank you're going to lose him for a minute, because it's
so.
like,
Yeah.
I think you already lost me.
Our researcher.
No,
over here.
I swear, like I that came across my desk like a year ago, and I was like,
Someone
oh,
did
not yet,
mention
not yet.
that.
Yeah. And oh yeah, I'm excited. Thank you.
I'm so obsessed with hearing people's past life stories. I just saw the one about the grandson. There was
yes.
a builder named John before he was born. I love that so much. I probably quiz our son too much, but like he does things that were like, when he was like not even 2, he just like gets into. We were like, he was a war guy, like he had to be,
Or at least one time he was.
I know boys turn things into weapons and whatnot, but he was too
Sure.
young to know, and like was using things as like a scope, and
No,
was
like,
getting
literally-
down behind a wall.
Literally 2 years old, he was hiding like in the bushes with a stick and adjusting his scope. And then we had an old like tube for a this is before he
like
was
a
like
wrapping
talking.
paper.
A wrapping
Yeah.
paper tube, and he like tilted it up like at a 45-degree angle and was treating it like a mortar. We had this. It was the weirdest thing ever. I'm like, has homie been watching Saving Private Ryan, or what's going on here?
He was loading like a dog toy that was shaped like this, like one of the
Like a little, the kind of thing you use in like a mortar shell.
yeah. And I was like, "What are you doing?" He wasn't even 2. And I'm just like, that's so amazing to me.
So
Yes.
something I'm curious about, right? When you start looking into this, I want to put a bug in your ear about this, right? When kiddos are talking about remembering past life experiences, a pattern I've noticed is that a lot of them had dramatic or tragic endings, right?
Mhm.
And my personal theory is that if the ending is that tragic, it leaves an echo in their energy that they carry forward with them as they sort of leave this piece and pull this piece, like as energy exchanges. It's like an echo that kind of gets carried forward. That's why sometimes, or a lot of the time, they outgrow it. As they grow, that echo dies out and they're no longer have access to that. Because I have yet to hear one of a kid who's like telling about how he had the most wonderful life and everything was beautiful, and he just died as an old man in his bed. But I mean, it's always war or an accident or something like that, right? Which is, I find incredibly interesting, and like there's got to be something to that, right?
There's got to be.
Yeah.
There's got to be. We had for a while. We had like just, and this is also part of the course too. We had a family therapist who also just happened to be a psychic, not a practicing psychic. He was using it to cheat when he was doing therapy, and like licensed everything. We found him through like a word of mouth, and he was like, "Oh, I don't really tell anybody about that part." I'm like, "Yeah, well, we need it because we got to figure out what's going on here."
Yeah.
So our initial like exploration into this world was through like traditional therapy, but with someone who's more tapped in than your average therapist. And he was telling us how like our son of us, when talking about like, past lives and stuff, our son is the oldest one of us, technically, even though he's the youngest one of us.
Okay,
We were like,
I have to tell you, you were talking about him, and I almost said like an old man. Like I almost said that because that's immediately the image I got was like an old man, like he'd been here. I got to ask you guys. First, I want to say hi to Beck. Beck is 9 and watching with us.
Oh, what's up, dude?
That's awesome.
How you doing, man?
Hello. And I want to ask you guys, there's this video this family on TikTok that keeps popping up on my feed, and it's a mom, and I think she has twin boys, right? And this is a Caucasian woman, right? With twin boys that look maybe 4, 5, maybe 5, right? And one of the boys is insistent that he's Black.
Oh, wait, did I see this?
And he tells her, "Why did you make me come here? Why did you make me leave my Black brothers? I want to go back to my brothers. My brother," and he has a name that he names, and he talks about how things were different, and I want to go back. And why did you? I don't look like, and I think they're identical twins. And he's like, "I don't look like that. And it's really interesting to listen to this kid because he is 100% convinced of whatever it is that he's experiencing. And the mom, this poor woman, she handles it with grace. She absolutely does. But like, I feel for her. Like, I don't know what I would say either. Like,
that's
especially around that idea, right? Like, how do you, okay, but let's not walk around saying that maybe.
Right.
How do you, like, that's such a challenging thing. And I think it's stuff like that if a parent has, all right, listen, let me lay this one on you. And you can have a round table of people saying, okay, let's think about it this way, because perspective is everything. And sometimes you're too deep in it to have a fresh perspective. So that's where your resource that you're offering comes in so handy. So
yeah.
I'm
Just
super excited.
Want to hang out with some parents and come up with some best practices together. At no point did we want to put ourselves forward as gurus. Like I said earlier, I have a background in like media and video productions, which is why I can make this, right. And then with the experiences with our daughter and all that stuff, like now we're in this, and the only reasonable logical thing to do was to help people navigate this through video and courses. It's what my job used to be. So that doesn't mean that I have experienced everything there is to experience. I can't wait to talk to more parents about what they're experiencing. So I want to have a chat.
I would caution, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I would caution anyone who is listening to someone who says they have all the answers, because no, they don't. No, they don't. I don't. Nobody does. That's the nature of evolution. If you had all the answers, what are you doing here? Right? Like, come on. You can. It completely astounds me when I think about the way I thought about all of this just 6 years ago. Like, 6 years is this long, right? And my mindset is so completely different than it was, that if I traveled back in time and told myself that I was going to be doing this, I wouldn't have believed it, because there's no way. I was so right. I was so science oriented. It's science, And I guess for me, I had to recognize the idea that spirituality isn't necessarily magic, although it can feel like magic. It's just frequency. And it's just science that we haven't yet brought forward. But quantum mechanics is really close, and it's really picking up, and it's starting to explain these things. You just have to be willing to admit that you don't know everything, that there's more out there, right? There's always a balance. Nature repeats itself over and over and over again. If something's in the macro, it's going to be in the micro too. You just have to figure out how it manifests that way,
Yeah. It's just future science. That's all it is.
Just
Yeah.
future science. I mean, and think about how many times that's happened in our world, right? Like seriously, I remember Marty McFly getting fired over FaceTime, and my dad. I clearly remember my dad going, "That'll never happen. Nobody ever wants to call you on something where they can see your face. What if you're in the toilet?" Like this is what my dad. And I remember that conversation, and here we are, right? In
That's so
my
funny.
lifetime, right?
Yeah.
I mean, cars that drive themselves. What? Like, I mean, space age. Like, shit is changing.
It's
You know,
wild.
technology is exponential in growth. So it multiplies. It doesn't just slowly grow. It like doubles and then doubles and then doubles and then doubles because it's exponential in the way it grows. The way things are going to be is insane.
Yeah.
So
It is wild.
Yeah.
And also, like, I feel like, I mean, even compared to like just a few years ago, I feel like it's very a normal conversation these days that's happening everywhere, where even like people who study this kind of stuff have acknowledged that, like, oh, it's looking a lot like consciousness isn't localized. That's
oh yeah.
that's a normal conversation now. I feel like even 5 years ago that was like fringe. You'd be a
Oh.
weirdo if you said that.
Oh, I just read an article. Okay, so I am going to get this scientist's name wrong. I apologize immediately. He's an older Asian man with long gray hair to about here, Mikio
quantum-
Cacao, something
Yeah,
like this, right?
yeah, that guy. Love that
That's
guy.
completely wrong, but you get the general idea. I read an article that he wrote where his theory is that dark matter is frequency that we can't understand yet, leaking from other like universe or connections or whatever. And when I read that, I was like, of course it is. Of course it is. That makes total sense. That makes total sense when you think about the grand scope of things. It's black, so it's not reflecting light, right? So it's
Yeah.
not like a star, obviously, or gas or dust or anything. So what's something that maybe doesn't reflect light? Frequency doesn't always reflect light. I mean, there's so many things that this opened up. When I read that, I was like, holy cow. And of course, I have to acknowledge he is on the fringe, blah, 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 blah. But this man has a PhD, so he's smarter than me. So I'm just going to go with it. Okay. But I think it's really
idea.
encouraging at the very least that it's being talked about, that it's being thrown around and not necessarily with the stigma of you're never going to work again kind of thing,
Yeah.
Like when I left the university, one of the main reasons I started feeling like I needed to is because I looked around at my colleagues and I would try to have a conversation about Reiki, like maybe we should think about incorporating practices like Reiki and acupuncture. Like maybe we should teach our students. And it was completely shut down. Absolutely not. There's no evidence that this works. But that's not true. That is simply not true.
We unfortunately only have the evidence that it works and not the mechanism.
Yeah.
And that's like, scientifically not the mechanism. I can tell you why it works, but
but there's no way to demonstrate the mechanism.
There's no way to
is
demonstrate the mechanism.
Yeah.
Right. And that's an issue. But you can clearly see, like, there's this I read a study about grounding, and there was MRI images or CT images or something of the swelling in their knees and everything before and then after. Clearly there's a difference. Like it is right there. So I don't understand. I guess I don't understand what it is that keeps us as a society at large of just finally saying, oh, okay, there's 7,000 studies. Maybe there's something going on. Like, and I'm a big believer in science. I just think that science tends to be very arrogant and very slow moving. And
people want to hold on to like what they think they know.
Well, I mean, everyone forgets that like what becomes modern science is based off of evidence, off of what can be proven, right? And that it's not the answer to everything. It's only it follows this it's hard to get something to be traditional mainstream science. It's a very strict set of things you need to accomplish for it to get into a textbook, right?
Right.
That doesn't mean that's everything ever. It just means the rest is unknown. And there's a
Right.
hell of a lot that we don't know.
Right.
But a
Right.
lot of evidence for
Absolutely.
things that we don't know.
But we progress as a society, right? I mean, there was a time that people legitimately believed that if you left a pile of rags in your barn, that it would grow mice. Like they genuinely believed that it
It's
was
so weird.
because of the
Hey, Lauren,
rags,
get the rags. It's the
Right.
mice thing isn't going to work, okay?
right? Like, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, think about how many women and children died of childbed fever, which the
Ugh.
cause of is not washing your hands. Like what? Like that? What? Okay, huh?
Oh my
Listen,
To
germ
God.
me,
theory is just a theory, okay?
right,
And
right. But like to me, that's common sense. Like, why would if I just delivered a baby, why wouldn't I once off before I delivered another baby? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
but again, you only know what you know, right? But
Yeah.
unfortunately, humanity learns best through contrast, which when I get out of this place and I got my feedback card, I got some stuff to say. Like, why? Why contrast? Why is this the way? And why is
Yeah.
hindsight always the answer? I'm excited about this. We need to talk. Like feedback, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just this feeling of you only know what you know. If you don't have a frame of reference, it's hard to build an understanding of something, you know? But
Yes.
once that one kernel gets out there, it's exponential in growth because you get attention and then resonant frequencies, amplification, all that stuff, which again is all just frequency, friends, you know?
And
Yeah.
and maybe with enough communication, emergence of new things. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, this has been fantastic. Let everybody know where they can find you, the easiest way to find you, your podcast, your school classroom, your website, all the stuff. Lay it on us.
All right. I'm glad you're asking me this because just today I bought a new URL because I realized how much of a mouthful the last one was. So we'll start with it. I was like, wait, this is really bad to say.
Our
So-
school community.
Our school community. So now if you just go to raisingpsychicchildren.com, it'll take you right there.
Okay.
Raising Psychic Children. And also I should mention that right now we have opened up the course entirely, which it's usually like $80 something, but right now we're doing 10 free seats. So first 10 people there, just hop on in.
We'll
It's
give you
all yours.
access to the course.
Yeah.
First 10
Nice.
spots in there.
And then if you are curious about that quiz, the quiz is at ismykidpsychic.com. You'll kind of get a rating of like what clears your kid scores highest for, plus the emotional impact score, which is supposed to help you determine if they're going through distress while experiencing their psychic events. And then at some point, we're going to put out some more episodes over at Clairvoyaging. So go to clairvoyaging.com or just look for us where you listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Something I want to also like put a bug in your ear about. So something I've been working on is a quick reference thing, right? Like, cause I feel like I know a lot of stuff. Like I feel like I know a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think because as an educator, one of my degrees is in adult education. I understand that people learn differently, right? Some people learn through reading. I tend to be a very visual person, right? And I remember the struggle of early in my awakening experience. I'm like, you want me to read this 500-page book to answer this one question? Like what?
Yeah.
Right? So I started out with trying to help myself, right? And what did I ended up with is this thing that I made. It's called the Human Energetic Experience, right? And I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. Let me pick one that's brighter in color so it's easier to see. All right, so we talked about the range of frequency in the human body.
Oh, look at this.
Wow.
So I have a visual representation of the information that I wrote, right?
That's nice. Yeah.
And it breaks it down in a way that's easy to digest one page at a time, right? So there's one on the Schumann resonance.
Ooh,
Wow.
I like
right?
that.
That.
So how great would it be if you had something like this for kids, right? Like,
Oh.
Aaron,
I'm feeling
you are
this. Let
incredible.
me flip this book and see what they have here. And you could even make it to where they can add their own notes, right? Like
A
this,
workbook.
I tried this and this
Yeah.
didn't work, or this worked, or this, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's something in there that you guys
I think
could
you're
sort of
right.
That
pull on.
is such a good idea.
I even have a page all about how I think neurodivergence is a part of evolution. And I break down why I think that and where it comes from and the science that I'm leaning on and all that stuff.
That's
Right.
very
Look
cool.
at you.
I will
Oh,
send
yeah.
you one. I have to find a printer because the printer I use is really expensive. So I have to find one that's a little more economical.
Yeah.
When I do that, I'll send you guys one and you
Oh,
can
I
look
would
at
love
it and
that.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's gorgeous.
amazing.
That's a cool thing to have.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
I'm
this
super
funny.
has got
excited.
so many wheels turning.
Yeah. Yeah. The
That's incredible.
I stopped. I wrote the course. We made the video, and I didn't think about visuals that much. I have some cool like graphs and stuff in the throughout the course, but
But like
a little
for
workbook like that is so
kids.
neat. Yeah,
Yeah.
and addressing kids directly is something I don't think we've
I
actually.
just had a coloring book come to mind.
it.
Yeah.
She's
yeah.
building.
Journal.
That-
yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
See, this is how it works in a private session with me, friends. Up to your frequency, and I start telling you all the stuff that you
Got it.
can't see from your perspective, right? I
Mhm.
told you guys, this is just the beginning. There's so much that you can do. Like I can see it just all around.
Oh, man.
I think what creating a workbook or whatever could help kids do, like covertly, is empowerment, right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Feeling of
been the
control, a
biggest
feeling
thing.
of I can do this, you know?
Yeah.
I think it'd
I
be
mean, even
great.
through the podcast, the through line was always, you want to develop your psychic abilities more. You want to dig into your clairs. It turns out that work is done through healing and trauma work,
Mm.
and like
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
I
were
have
like,
I have the-
what? It's such an unexpected shift. We were like, I guess we're going on a real healing journey that we didn't plan for.
Yeah. I came for the ghosts.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
like that's more fun. Can
And
we do
here I
that?
am crying on half the podcast. I'm like healing all my stuff.
But yeah, I mean, being able to catch. I don't think we've made anything where we're addressing kids directly yet. You know, we're trying to talk to parents, but yeah, like parents who need
Definitely include your
cool-
daughter in that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, she
'Cause
will have ideas.
She'll know all the dates about what people are into. Like she'll have
She's
it.
such.
Yeah, she is.
She's so excited to be some kind of like famous.
She's
Like,
a
can you just
performer.
pump the brakes, man. Yeah, she's in like
musical
10
theater.
10 musical
kid.
theater classes this
Oh,
summer.
my daughter is also musical theater. I get it. She's very dramatic. I love her, but she is very
I
dramatic.
was
Like,
as
you know.
well. I literally just was at a theater thing for adults this weekend.
Oh, that's awesome.
She did
I
a
told my
theater camp.
daughter, I told my daughter, I'm like, they have they're like nightclubs for theater kids where they play
Mhm.
show tunes and you go
Broadway
and
rave.
everybody sings and
Yeah.
everybody does the choreography. I was like, you need to find one of those so you can get back to that piece of you. And she's like, I'm so busy right now. Can you not? And I'm like, all right, sorry, you know.
Yeah. I've heard of that.
You
I
can't
wanna
turn
do
that off. If you have that theater kid in you, you can't squash that. You got to let that thing fly sometimes.
Sometimes
Oh,
there's
it's what
nowhere
makes
for
you
it to
unique.
go.
It's what makes you
Yeah.
so special. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's one of my most favorite things about my daughter is how unafraid she has ever been to be on a stage. Like it used to terrify the socks off of me to think of having to even talk in front of a classroom. And then she would get up on a stage and just belt it out like she didn't give a crap what anybody cared. And I admire her so deeply for that because I wouldn't say I never had those guys. I don't know if I could sing. I could get up on a stage. Okay. You don't want me to sing, but I could get up on a stage.
I
Right.
don't know.
But it was so inspirational to see her do that because I just thought, wow, like that's amazing to me. Just, talent shows and plays. She played Rizzo in Grease in high school. Like,
Oh.
and she burned that.
Wow. I
Oh,
played Rizzo.
and it's fantastic. And she did
beautiful.
such a great job. Like there were people sitting behind us in the, this is one of my husband's greatest points of pride. There were people sitting behind us in the theater that did not know she was our daughter. And her big number came on and she did her big number. And after she went off stage, the people behind us were like, oh my God, she was so great. Who is that kid? My husband was like, yeah, like it was so great. It was so
That's
great.
So sweet.
What a nice thing to hear.
I know, right?
Yeah, it was so great. Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
miss
awesome.
that. I miss going to her place. I really do. I miss going. My son did theater, but he did behind the scenes. He did sound design and mics and all that stuff. But I miss going to their orchestra concerts. And you don't, this is an odd thing to end this on, but you don't realize when what you're gonna miss when your kids are gone, right?
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
I always knew I'd miss them. I always knew I'd miss hanging out with them or whatever. Not that they hung out with me a lot, but hanging out with them or whatever.
yeah.
But it's the things that you don't think you're gonna miss. It's the rolling your eyes and, oh my God, I got to go to another chorus concert. Like it's those things that I miss the most.
Yeah.
It's the mundane things that are no longer part of the mundane that leaves like a vacuum.
Yeah.
You know,
We
the
try to like keep that in mind so often.
it's hard though.
You're in the thick of it. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Of course.
Yeah, you wanna get through it. It's another thing. You gotta socialize with the parents and whatever it might be. But like,
Right.
I love going to the performances.
I get nervous.
Oh yeah.
I get like I project my own nervousness onto my daughter. That's healthy, right?
Right.
You know,
Totally. Just as healthy as me almost getting in a fight at an orchestra concert because the people behind me were talking. And I turned around and I said, "Excuse me, I'm trying to listen." And the woman looked at me and she was like, "It's not that serious." And I'm like, "I know how hard they practice. You need to be quiet."
oh, that's
Oh
very
my
nice.
gosh.
I'm in the audience about to throw up on behalf of my daughter out of nervousness, and Aaron's gonna stuff a dude in a tuba. That's fine.
That's awesome.
Oh my
Well, listen,
gosh.
guys, it has been fantastic. Thank you so much for being here with us. The replay for everybody will be up on my YouTube channel almost immediately. I will send the copy of this to you guys, and you can always post it on your podcast if you would like. So, you guys, thank you. Make sure you go check out their podcast, their websites, all the stuff, right?
You are the best.
Yeah, Aaron, thanks
Thank
so
you,
much for
Aaron,
having us.
so
And
much.
it's so nice to talk to you again. I
Yeah.
missed you.
Yeah.
I
And
missed
thank you guys
too.
for your questions and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. We hope that it was helpful. And just the biggest thing to remember is you're not alone. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to know everything. It's just
Yeah.
figure out right now. That's what we're going to work on, right?
That's it. We always
Exactly.
talk about normalizing your spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And so we say the same thing on all of our stuff is you don't have to do it alone. Come hang out with us.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you guys next time.